You see that word sustainable everywhere these days, right? Especially on things made of wood. But when a company makes that claim, how can you tell if it's actually true? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and dive into the official rulebook to see exactly how these companies are held accountable. Just take a look around you for a second. Think about the furniture in your home. Your desk, maybe a bookcase, even the chair you're sitting on. They all started out in a forest somewhere. But was that forest managed responsibly? For the longest time, that's been a surprisingly tough question to answer. But now, a whole new era of standardized reporting is finally starting to bring some real clarity. All right, so here's our game plan for today. We'll start big with something called the SASB standards. Then we'll narrow our focus to building products. After that, we'll cover the 4 key sustainability topics for that industry, and then do a real deep dive into the wood supply chain and exactly how it's all calculated. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by looking at why this one metric really, really matters. Okay, so first things first, what even are these standards? I mean, we live in a world that is just flooded with vague green marketing, right? Eco-friendly this, all natural that. Well, the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, or SASB for short, is designed to cut through all that noise. It provides a clear, consistent, and comparable way for companies to report on the sustainability issues that actually affect their bottom line. And just so we're clear, this isn't some small, niche framework. As of 2022, SASB is officially part of the IFRS Foundation. Now, that's the same body that oversees global financial accounting standards. What this does is elevate sustainability reporting to the same level of seriousness and importance as financial reporting. It's a huge deal. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a nutritional label on your food. Before those labels, you kind of had no idea what you were really getting. But now you can compare 2 products side by side, apples to apples. SASB standards do the exact same thing for a company's sustainability performance. It gives investors and you the power to make a truly informed choice. And every single one of these standards, there are 77 of them for different industries, is built on 5 core parts. They define the industry, they identify the key topics to disclose, like water use, and then they provide specific metrics. The technical protocols give super detailed instructions, and activity metrics help you compare companies of different sizes. It's a really complete and rigorous system. Okay, so that's the big picture. Now let's zoom in and get really specific. We're going to look at the standard for just one industry, building products and furnishings. So this standard covers the companies that make all the things that build and fill our homes and our offices. We're talking flooring, furniture, ceiling tiles, and of course, the big structural stuff like lumber and plywood. Basically, if it's made of wood and it's in a building, there's a very good chance it falls under this category. So for a company that makes, let's say, office desks, what are the most important sustainability issues, the ones that could actually impact their business? Well, SASB has identified 4 key topics that are the most likely to have a real financial impact on a company in this particular sector. Those 4 key topics are energy management in their factories, the management of chemicals in their products, the environmental impacts across a product's life cycle, and the one we're really focusing on today, wood supply chain management. We're zooming in on the wood supply chain because, well, for this industry, it's at the very heart of everything they do. Following that trail of wood fiber, right from the forest, all the way to the factory floor, tells you a massive amount about a company's real-world impact. And here's why this is so critical. The standard itself says that poor sourcing can lead to biodiversity loss and harm communities. And for a company, getting this wrong can mean serious reputational damage, big fines, and even losing access to the raw materials they need to operate. The stakes are incredibly high. So how do we track this? How does a company actually report on its wood sourcing in a standardized way? Let's get right into the step-by-step guide that the standard provides. It all comes down to a specific accounting metric with a very official-sounding code, CGBF 430A.1. Now, this isn't just a suggestion. It's a formal metric with a precise definition and a clear protocol for exactly how it must be calculated. So what are we actually measuring here? We're measuring the wood that comes from third-party certified forest lands. This just means that an independent organization has gone in and verified that the forest is managed according to a strict set of rules, covering everything from legal harvesting and protecting biodiversity to respecting worker rights. And the calculation itself is pretty straightforward. First, the company measures the total weight of all the wood fiber it bought in a year, in metric tons. Second, it identifies and weighs just the portion that came from those certified forests. Third, you just divide the certified weight by the total weight to get the percentage. And finally, and this is key, the company has to report a breakdown for each specific certification standard it uses. And what are those standards? Well, the protocol lists the major players, and you've probably seen their logos before. They include the Forest Stewardship Council, or FSC, the Program for the Endorsement of Forest Certification, that's PEFC, and in North America, the Sustainable Forest Initiative and the American Tree Farm System. So a company's final report might look something like this. You can see here that 75% of their wood comes from certified forests, but you also get that crucial breakdown. 40% is from FSC, 25% from PEFC, and so on. And just as importantly, you see that 25% of its wood supply is uncertified. This level of transparency is what makes real accountability possible. Okay, we've gone deep into the how, but let's zoom back out and finish with the why. Why does collecting and reporting this one single number have such a profound impact, from the corporate boardroom all the way back to the forests themselves? Well, it really boils down to a simple case of risk versus reward. On one side, poor sourcing creates these massive risks: brand damage from reports of illegal logging, regulatory fines, and major supply chain problems. But on the other side, transparently reporting a high percentage of certified wood builds investor confidence, it earns customer loyalty, and it opens up new markets by meeting that growing global demand for truly sustainable products. So, this all brings us to the final question. These standards create the data, the transparency, the language we need for accountability, but data on its own doesn't really do anything. As this level of reporting becomes the norm, the power shifts. It shifts to investors who can choose where to put their money. It shifts to consumers who can choose what to buy. And it shifts to all of us who can finally look at a company and ask a simple, powerful question: what's your number?